It'll be 6 months tomorrow when 2 bombs exploded near the finish line of the Boston Marathon, killing 3 and injuring hundreds more. A massive manhunt for the terrorists brought the nation's attention to Boston for the following week. Dr. Pierre Rouzier from the University of Massachusetts Health Services was a medical volunteer near the finish line when those bombs went off, and without giving it a second thought, jumped into the chaos and helped the injured. He joins me today. Thank you so much for your time, Doctor.
Great, very nice to be here.
It's been 6 months. What's one of the things that comes to your mind when you think about that day that happened 6 months ago?
I think the thing that sticks out the most is the spirit of volunteerism and of people just putting aside fears for themselves because of the bomb and rushing right in to help. There's video clips and there's pictures of people. The bomb goes off and most times people scatter. People just rushed right in. And if there's a sobering thought to all of this, it's just how much people just rushed in to care and to help.
Now, have you been able to connect with anyone from that day?
I've connected with the people that I've worked with, and that's been kind of a special healing process of sharing with each other of what we've gone through in the last several months and on our journey to healing. I would love to connect with the last 2 people that I touched at the scene. There was a teenage girl that was with both of her parents that had a leg injury, and then another woman in her probably mid-30s with a left leg injury that they were the last 2 people that I helped get transported out, holding the hand of the woman who grabbed me and looked at me and said, "I'm going to die right here and now and no one will know where I am." And that made this automatic response to helping just be real personal. But in the chaos of it all, I never gave her my name. I never got her name. Never saw her again. Kind of got her on a wheelchair first, which wasn't ideal because of her injury. And then a gurney came and got her on the gurney, and grabbed her bag for her. Found her cell phone in the chaos of it all. Ran it over to her, and I would love to see her, but I haven't.
Wow, that image, that moment must live in your memory forever.
Yeah. I have the image of young man Jeff Bauman with both legs which were traumatically amputated because of the bomb, running down the street with my colleague and seeing him being comforted and attended to by a couple of people, and then just trying to sort out the carnage that was there and trying to figure out, okay, where am I best to start pitching in and helping. We were outside the tent when the bomb went off. And so my job is, I'm one of the triage physicians outside the major medical tent. So typically, especially on a hot day like the year before, there's numerous distressed runners, and they'll come staggering to the finish line or be brought in by wheelchair by volunteers. And we have to make a decision whether they need to be in the medical tent at all, whether they need to be in the intensive care part of the medical tent, or whether they just have a cramp and need to drink and walk it off. Well, when the bomb went off, I was next to a tech person, and the first thing he said was, "Wow, I think one of our transformers blew." And I thought it might be some celebratory cannon, and then 10, 15 seconds later, a second bomb went off, and we all knew that something horribly wrong had happened. So we weren't sure whether we were most valuable waiting and working at the tent or just going to the scene. So a couple minutes passed, and we just decided, oh, we got to go to the scene. So we just went to the scene and then started pitching in with what was going on.
Was there any type of method of what are we going to do now, or you just saw the first person that needed help and rushed to them? It must have been chaos.
Well, from my perspective, there's a method of triage where you look at the most critical people that need the most rapid transport and the most immediate care, and then there's secondary injuries and then injuries that are not life-threatening. But it was really obvious to know the people who had their legs blown off and were bleeding from open wounds profusely. They were all level 1 or red patients that needed immediate triage and immediate transportation. So you know exactly what they need. You just don't get it immediately. So the roads are blocked off because of the barriers in the finish line, and there's ambulances already waiting to take people from the end of the medical tent over, but there's no way to get the ambulances to where we were. So part of it was walking around. There was already, first responders helping most people. But the bizarre thing was running on the scene, and there were, in a size of smaller, about half of this room, probably 80 people on the ground. There were the victims, there were the people helping them, there were the people consoling them. It smelled like burning flesh, it smelled like blood, it smelled like the ingredients of the bomb. And then, so the first thing for me to do is to try to survey the scene and figure out where am I most helpful. There was another doctor whom I didn't know that was kind of doing triage and kind of giving out orders of who should go, which was great. I would still remember seeing this woman saying, "That person needs to go now," and it was like, "That's great. Where we put him now?" So, and everything was happening. You kind of look around, going, "We need a stretcher, we need a wheelchair, we need an ambulance." I mean, you know exactly what people need. It's just a matter of making it happen right then. And then the barriers were torn down, and then ambulances came, and it was a time warp. You didn't know if you were there for 20 minutes, if you were there for an hour. And then I can't remember what someone said, but I think we were in and out of the scene within 20 minutes, and that people were packaged and put in ambulances and transported within 20 minutes of the bomb going off. And I would never know what the time was.
If you could do it all over again, would you?
Oh, of course. I mean, I'll volunteer to be at the finish line, and I love doing triage. I love greeting people. And one of the things that bothers me personally is everybody that comes into the tent, I'll introduce myself to them with a smile. I'll ask them how they did. I'll look them in the eye. I'll let them engage with me. And that's how I help figure out where they need to go in the tent. And I lost part of that when I was on the scene. And it still bothers me. I wasn't able to smile, give them my name, ask them their name, because, and so that still bothers me.
Will you be back at the marathon this year?
Oh, sure. I'll be back forever.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story with us. I really appreciate it.